Well, I'm here on my second day of the Lane Motor Museum tour and thinking about taking a look at some things I may have forgotten while I was here yesterday. You can cover the entire museum in one day, that's possible, but I'm kind of a big time nut for a lot of the cars in here, so I decided to come for a second day. That was the whole reason for me to come to Nashville in the first place. And I'm gonna go down and take the tour downstairs a second time just so that I can see as much as I can possibly see. And the first place I'm going to is where all the microcars are. Like there's the Isetta and the Kleinschnitger. And it's pretty early in the morning, so nobody's here yet. And I didn't want to hit the road right away, so I decided to come again. And they have a bicycle exhibit. It's right there. And then there is all of the European cars, the French cars behind me, and the Janus, and all of those. So, day 2, what can we find? The history of MG from 1932 to the present day. And Austin Healey, an early Sprite with a kind of weird front opening. And then this is really a rebadged MG Midget, MGB really, Austin Healey badged version. And then the MG Midget, I remember these from when I was a kid. There was a lot of them around in that color especially. They were not very reliable. But the last iteration of British Leyland went out of business in 2005, which is around when this car is from. And this one's a 2001, which in Britain today, these are just kind of like a cheap, college student's car, but this is kind of where it ended for MG. Began there, and then there they ended when they went bankrupt. Now they're just owned by the Chinese. I'm really scared to walk under this thing. I wonder why they did that. A couple of Lotuses. Or is it Loti? True British classic. Early 60s, I think is what they were saying. 62 Lotus Elite. Back when Lotus really made some really great engines. Lots of switches in there. Very small gear lever. And there it is, the Lotus badge. As you may have heard, stands for lots of trouble, usually serious. And this looks like a Lotus Elan, maybe 2005 or so. Let's see. Well, it's an Elise, 1998. Okay, I was way off. I don't really know much about Lotuses or Loti. Okay, here's a car that's as old as me. 1978 Citroen Diane with a rad 70s interior. Check this out. Striped seats. And lots of black plastic where there used to be chrome. Yeah, that's definitely 1978. And there's the peel back top on there with a little structure in the middle. This is a Steyr Pooch motorcycle sold by Sears, 1966. And I would not want to ride that. The seat's too narrow. It's a Honda. Fuji Rabbit. Looking for a Honda Super Cub, but they don't seem to have one. But they do have this Jawa 175cc. And they have Innocenti Lambretta. It's Italian. Very similar to a Vespa. It's a scooter. Lambretta scooter. Mitsubishi scooter. I don't like the windshield on. This is a pretty color. Demi-tan. Roomy. And there's a zoomed out motorcycle. This tiny little Honda motorcycle. Oh, it's Citroen. Citroen BX. Holy crap. Citroen BX Turbo, I'm guessing. Renault Alpine. Completely crazy Alfa Romeo. And a Viper. Dodge Viper from '94. Including the American Davis, which is really interesting. He didn't make many cars. Again, it can be found in my encyclopedia, but I've never seen one up close. It is much bigger than I expected. And so obviously it's a three-wheeler. It's an American three-wheeler. If you had kids, you could. It was probably 4 people sit across. 61 Futura. There's an episode of The Simpsons where Homer designs his own car. And this futuristic prototype puts me in mind of Homer Simpson's car design. Not the least of which because it is green inside. It has 2 rows of passenger seats, a very long rear, so I'm guessing the engine is back there, and then a driver's seat, a single driver's seat up front, like you're a bus driver. Which is very funny. And it's very small and very impractical because it only has 1 door. So the second door on the other side, but how do you get into the front? You climb, okay, it's a swivel seat, so you climb in there. Yeah, that's not very practical. And you wouldn't get any air because those windows don't open. Futura. Yeah, is that how you want? Is that what you want your future to be? On my second day of the vault tour, which is the storage space on the lower floor of the museum, they told me this car is Brigitte Bardot's personal Simca weekend. It's a 1954 Simca weekend that was made for her personally before the car went to market. And it's been repainted the original color. The car's from 1954. So this is a star car. And this is a 1960s Wartburg Tourist, which is an East German estate car. Coronet.
One of the really kind of funky things is it's got 3 bucket seats. Yeah, look at that. So it's a 3-seater, but it's 3 bucket seats.
What?
That's cool. All fiberglass body. Actually, a pretty decent
really
performing car. The only problem was Matra hadn't done anything to really kind of inhibit rust on the bottom of the vehicle and the frame and stuff. So after a few years, people were noticing quite a bit of decay underneath the car. By the time Matra started doing anything about it, the reputation had already kind of been set in. And they eventually did away with that particular model. But I think they learned their lesson on it.
Renault 10.
I think that's the perfect dad's chaperone. Dad rides the scooter.
Skoda.
My daughter was
Skoda 1000.
cool.
Skoda.
We have Davis. It was all traveling abroad. Then you had the Dale in the late 70s through the early 80s.
62 Renault Dauphine. Saab 93. That's a 2-stroke Saab. Reliant Robin. Here it is.
We're still kind of waiting to find out about another 3-wheel supposed to change, revolutionize automobiles, extremely economical, really safe, all these things. And that's called the Elia, claimed almost exactly the same taglines about their cars.
One says it's a Tatra. It's a 3-wheeler, which I cannot figure out. The 3rd wheel's in the back. Looks like, I would have thought it to be a Goliath, but it's bigger than that. Tatra T49. This must be their 3-wheel exhibit. And there's this, I'm guessing it's a Morgan. Yep, it is. 1948. And a Reliant Regal. And that's going to be like, it looks 50s, but it's probably 60s. They made these until the early 70s, Reliant did. Well, I wouldn't mind driving that around. And then there's an old Reliant. This is like early 50s. Trevon. I have no idea what that is. Never heard of that before. I do like this. So the engine must be, look where the engine is, right there. Reliant, they designed this 3-wheeler pretty smart. They wanted to have the center of gravity to be as far back as possible. That's how they designed their cars. And that's why the engine hood is way back there, so that you didn't roll over. 1957 Reliant Regal. The Bond 875. This is Bond's one of their last cars. And I know I'm kind of close to it because it's very narrow and back here. And then the only Messerschmitt I've seen in the whole museum. I thought there would be a bunch of these, but this is it. One Messerschmitt, and it is tiny. I can't believe how small these are. The KR200. Tiny wheels. It looked like those are like 8 inches. Yeah. Here's the driving position. It's like a single tandem seat with a handlebar. And then this weird thing. All right, so after 2 days looking around this museum, the Lane Motor Museum, what are my favorite parts about it? What are anything that I would want to change or any regrets? I would have to say this is one of the best car museums that I've ever seen. And you definitely should come here if you get the chance. Great exhibits. I think one of my favorites, possibly my favorite exhibit of all, is the Tatra exhibit. That's really forefront of my mind. Favorite things I've seen here. Things I wasn't so enthusiastic about. Some of the cars in here, because they have so many, are parked, like especially in the vault behind other cars where you can't see them, and there's really interesting cars that I would have loved to have gotten good pictures of, but they were completely buried, and that's unfortunate. But apart from that, I can't think of anything else that I would want to change. It's a little hot in here because it's an old bread factory that they actually put the museum in. So there is air conditioning, but it's not very effective. But anyway, what I would say is thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. I definitely will come back here one day, and think that you should as well, to the Lane Motor Museum here in Nashville, Tennessee. So I will see you again soon, I hope. Please put a like on the video if you would, and have a great one. Take care. Bye. Well, there's a final farewell to the Lane Motor Museum. Thank you, Lane, for a wonderful couple of days. It's now time to make my way back to Charlotte.